Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf, which is Pesachim Nun Daled. We are down at the wide lines, actually the second wide line, the last word on that line, V'ur. We'll continue our discussion regarding the bracha that we recite on Motzei Shabbos on a flame. As Tais explained to us, it's not a birchas hanenin due to the hana that we have from flame, because it's not a significant hana. It's not ingested like food or drink. Rather, it's a birchas hashvach, to praise Hashem, to mark the occasion of the Bria, the fact that fire was created right then and there on Motzei Shabbos. Says the Gemara, the second of the wide lines, the last word, V'ura b'Motzei Shabbos Ivri. Is that the case? That fire was created initially on the first Motzei Shabbos of creation? But Tanya, we have a Brisa, a Mishnah as follows: Asora dvarim nivru berev Shabbos ben hashmashis. So actually 10 things which were created on that first Erev Shabbos ben hashmashis, during that twilight zone between Friday and Shabbos. As the Mepharshim explain, not only was natural phenomena created during the Sheshis and Bereshis, but also Nisim. As the Rambam explains, for instance, on the second day of the Bria, when water was created, Hashem embedded, programmed into water, that when Klal Yisrael faces the Yam Suf, it will split before them. So there's no new phenomenon in this world. There's no new Metzias. The Pasuk in Kehillah says, Eina kol chadash tachas hashemesh. There's nothing new under the sun. Even a miracle that occurs later on throughout history has been embedded and already pre-programmed within the substance, the matter of creation, that eventually it will express itself in this manner as well, in a manner of a mnes. So that happened on the second day when water was created, etc., etc. There was some nisim, however, which were unique. As the Maharal explains, they are a combination of spiritual and physical. And these are going to be the nisim listed in this Mishnah. And they were programmed during the point of transition between the physical and the spiritual, the Erev Shabbos leading into Shabbos, which is a Ruchnis entity. So between Friday and Shabbos, that's the point when these Nisim were programmed, initiated, and introduced into the world, of course in potential form, which only were realized and manifested later on throughout history. So what are these 10 things? Asora dvarim nivru be'erev Shabbos ben hashmashis. Elohim. Be'er. The Be'er, which was the Be'er Shel Miriam, which supplied water for Klal Yisrael in the Midbar. V'hamon, the Keshes, a rainbow. Ksav, Rashi says, the form of the letters. Umichtav, and the actual instrument, which was used to form those letters into luchos. V'haluchos, and luchos themselves. The Kiver Shel Moshe, the cavity of the caver of Moshe Rabbeinu, which was a miraculous entity. We know that Chachamim tell us you would look on top of the mountain, you would see it on the bottom, then go down to the bottom and see it up on top. So this was a miraculous phenomenon and was created then during Ben Hashmashis on Erev Shabbos. Uma'ara sh'amad boy Moshe ve'Eliyahu, as well as the cave in which Moshe Rabbeinu stood. He was in that cave when Hashem passed by it after Matan Torah, when he wanted to see Hashem's glory. Hashem says, hide in this cave and I'll pass before you. Ve'Eliyahu, and it was actually the same cave that Eliyahu Navi resided in when he was running away from Izevel. Psichas pia asen, the ability for the Bilam's donkey to get up and speak in front of him. Upsichas pia aretz, liv loyas Rishayim, and the opening in the ground to swallow the Rishayim, Korach, and his group. So we have 10. Rabbi Nechemya Omer Mishum Aviv. In the name of his father, he added another 2. Afa Ur v'Hapered, fire, and a pered, a crossbreed, a mule. There's nothing new under the sun. So when was that introduced into the world? That pered was introduced during the Bein Hashmashis of the first Erev Shabbos, the crossbreed between the horse and the donkey. And apparently this was the forerunner for all crossbreeds and all types of kalayim, which will follow suit throughout the years of the Bria. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler Aviv, he called his father, who added another 2 to the list, Afa Ayil v'Hashomer, the Ayil, the ram, which Avraham Avinu spotted after the Akedas Yitzchak. So that was created at that point, Vashamer, and this worm which would cut through hard surfaces used to build the Beis Hamikdash, that also was introduced into the world at that point. Let's take a look at Rashi. Vahaperet. So if we go up a couple of lines in Rashi, we'll see the word Vahaperet. Explains Rashi, why was there a need to have the peret introduced during the Sheshis Mebereshis? Says Rashi, Ein kol chadash tachas hashamash. Pasuk Keller says, there's nothing new under the sun. Uperet rishon niver min haaretz. The first peret, the first crossbreed, was created from the Aretz. V'lo ba min hakalayim, was not created from crossing over two different minim. So the concept was introduced already back then, and that allowed, so to speak, for all the subsequent kalayim to be created as well. Ayel says Rashi shel Avram Hashamir. What is that? Like a small snail worm. Ve'ein kol davar kosh oinu b'panav shlo yisparak. There's nothing hard that could withstand the power of this shomer, or just cuts right through it. Ubay bana shloimo es habayis mechas gittin. This was used by Shlomo Melech to build the Beis Hamikdash. In which case he could not use metal tools. He needed to saw through the stones using this unique worm. Continues the Gemara. Another item added to the list. Rabbi Yehuda Omer afat tzvas. Also, a pliers. The first pliers was created by Hashem during Sheis Mebereshis, during the Ben Hashmashes of Erev Shabbos. Why? Hu haya Omer. He will explain like this. Tzvasa b'tzvasa misabda. How do you produce a plier? Tzvasa b'tzvasa, using another plier, misabda gets produced. The metalsmith, he takes a pliers, grabs a piece of metal, holds it over the fire, and that is used to form the pliers. Utzvasa kamaisa man ovet. Who made the first pliers? How do you ever get started? Halai, apparently, this is the truth. Bria b'dei shamayim. It was created b'dei shamayim. It was a nice creation during the Sheish Mebereshis, which would allow for all subsequent pliers to be created. Amar leyu or Amr loy, they respond to Rabbi Yehuda, not necessarily. You don't have to have a pliers created by Hashem. Efshar yasena b'tfus. You get the first pliers, you make it in a tfus, in a form, in a mold. You could bet in a cave on, you could form it, produce it straight away, just pour some metal into that form, and you have a pliers. Halai. So apparently the truth can be that, no, Bria b'dei adami. It was created by human endeavor, not b'dei shemayim. Okay, so this is a machlekes regarding the pliers. But it seems that all agree regarding the fire, that indeed it was created when? Erev Shabbos ben Hashmashis, and not on Matzah Shabbos. Like Hasha. The answer is, depends what fire. Ha ba'ur dedan. We were speaking about our physical fire that was introduced on Matzah Shabbos. Ha ba'ur de Gehenim. The Mishnah, which indicates that the Ur was Nivra, Erev Shabbos ben Hashmashis, is in reference to the Ur of Gehenim. Fire of Gehenim is spiritual fire. That was during ben Hashmashis, Erev Shabbos. Ur de Dan, our fire, Matzah Shabbos. Ur de Gehenim, Erev Shabbos. V'ur de Gehenim Erev Shabbos. Is that the case? That fire of Gehenim was created in Erev Shabbos? V'tanya, Shiva Dvarim, Nivru Koidem Shenivru Olam. There were 7 things created before the world was created. They preceded the world. These spiritual entities were needed for the proper functioning of the world which was created after them. Ve'elohein. These are the following 7 things which were created before Brias Olam. Torah, which was created 2,000 years before the world. Utshuva, V'gan Eden, V'gehenim, V'kisei HaKavod, U'beis HaMikdash, U'shmoi Shel Mashiach. Explains the Gemara. Torah, T'chsiv, Hashem kanani reishis darkei. Hashem acquired me, this is the Torah speaking, acquired me before, reishis darkei, in the beginning, before he created everything. Tshuva, what do we find? That Tshuva preceded the world of Chsiv, B'terem har miladu, before the mountains were born. Uksiv, and in that capital it says, Toshav and Ashadaka. Hashem puts a person through difficult situations, so he humbles himself and does tshuva. So we see that the context there is about tshuva, and when was that introduced? Conceptually, before the Bria Soil. What about Gan Eden? Vayita Hashem Elokim Gan Be'eden Mikedem. The drasha here is that Mikedem means preceded the world's creation. Gehenna, the Siv Ki Oroich Me'esmel Tifte. Rashi explains that Tifte is a reference to Gehenna. She'll call Mespata B'yitzro Nefel Sham. Whoever gets convinced by Yitzhar to do Averis, he falls into the Gehenna. So Tifta is a reference to Gehenna, and when was that introduced? Me'esmel. It was Me'esmel before the world. What about Kisei HaKavod? Ubeis HaMikdash. T'chsiv Kisei Kavod Marim. Rashi explains Marim is someplace in the sky, and that's where the Kisei HaKavod is. Mei Rishon. It preceded the world. Makai Mikdashenu. The Beis HaMikdash as well preceded Brias Olam. And finally, Shmoi Shel Mashiach. How do we know that preceded the word of Chsiv? Yehi Shmoi La'olam. This is the name of Mashiach. Lifnei Shemesh Yinan Shemoi. So his name was introduced before the Shemesh. The essence, the concept of Geula Mashiach came about before Brias Olam. In any case, we see that Gehenna was before the world, and not during Erev Shabbos, Ben Hashmoshes. Amri, says the Gemara, they responded like this. Chalola, hu denivra koidem shnivra olam. It's hollowness, it's space. That came about before Brias Olam. That's the essence of Gehenna. It's just void, it's just emptiness. The essence of Yitzhahara, of Avira, it's just a figment of imagination. It's nothingness. It's just really, really a void. So that's the essence of Gehenna. Chalola, just an emptiness. So that preceded the world. But it's fire. That came about during Erev Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Erev Shabbos. Is that the case? That the fire of Gehenna was introduced on Erev Shabbos? It seems that it was actually created before Erev Shabbos. Vatanya. Rabbi Yisrael, the fire that Hashem created on the second day of creation, it won't go out forever. Shenemar. This is Lasad Love, they go out and they'll see the Pigya Anoshim, the remnants of the people have Poishim Ki Teilasam Lev Somos, Vishan Le Sichba. So the fire burning on the Poishim, the rebellers on Hashem, that stays forever. So the fire of Gehenna was created when? On the second day. Va'amar Rabbi Bena, Bereder Avula. In fact, we see it in the Psukim. V'pnei Maloi Nemar. Ki Toiv B'Sheni B'Shabbos. We don't find a reference of Ki Toiv. It was good. On the second day. Why? V'pnei Shenivra B'Y Ur Shel Gehenna. Because on that day, the fire of Gehenna was created. And Hashem is not happy with the downfall of Rishoim, so the term Ki Toiv was not used in reference to that day. Even though you don't find the term Ki Toiv specifically mentioned on that day, however, Chazar v'Kalei Bashish. On the sixth day, after man was created, in which case there is benefit to the Ur Shel Gehenna, to bring tshuva, to bring cleansing to a person, to cleanse him from his averis. So ultimately, it brings goodness. So then the Torah goes back and refers to even Gehenna as being something good. In the final, broader scheme of things, ultimately everything is good. In any case, we see that when was the Ur Shel Gehenna introduced? Not on Erev Shabbos Ben Hashmoshes, like we originally said, rather on the second day of Sheshis Mebereshis. Elo, says the Gemara, rather we must say like this: Chalola Koidem Shnivra Olam. It's chalol, it's space, it's vacuum. That was something that preceded Brias Olam. That was one of the 7 items on that list. V'ur didei b'sheni b'Shabbos. And indeed, the fire of Gehenna was created on the second day. So that's regarding the spiritual fire of Gehenna. V'ur didan, our physical fire, had 2 phases in its creation. B'machshava Allah, liborois b'erev Shabbos. Initially, the intent, the machshava, the plan by Hashem was to plan to create on Erev Shabbos. That's when it was introduced, so to speak, conceptually, potentially. V'lo nivrad Motzei Shabbos. But in actuality, it only came about on Motzei Shabbos. Hashem allowed it for Adam Rishon. He wanted that the Adam should go ahead and produce that fire, bring it from the koyach to the poil, the sanya. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Shnei dvarim olu b'machshava, liboros b'erev Shabbos. There were two things that were olu b'machshava. Hashem planned, so to speak, to create an erev Shabbos. V'lo nivru ad Motzei Shabbos, but they weren't actually brought about until Motzei Shabbos. Uba Motzei Shabbos, Nosan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Deya B'Adam Rishon. On Motzei Shabbos, Hashem implanted a special dose of wisdom in Adam Rishon. Me'ein dugma shel mala, which resembled the wisdom of the heavenly wisdom, to allow him to bring about, to create these two things. Ve'hevi shnei avonim v'tachnon over tachon zubazu. And he took two stones, clapped them against each other. V'yatzam and or, and out came fire. That's the first thing. Number two, ve'hevi shtei behemis. He brought two animals, a horse and a donkey. V'yirkiv zubazu, and he cross-mated them. V'yatzam and parent, out came a mule. Let's take a look at Rashi, right off to the side here. Elo. So the conclusion is like this. Vadai certainly the Gehenim Niver B'Shein B'Shabbos. That was created on the second day. Vod Dasana Le'el Ur B'Erev Shabbos B'Ur Dedan. When the Bryce earlier mentioned fire being created Erev Shabbos, that was our fire. With the Tani B'Reish of Motzei Shabbos. And the Bryce which said that it was created on Motzei Shabbos, Lo Tikshi. The answer is like this. Kam B'Machshava, Kam B'Yitzir. B'Erev Shabbos, Olam Machshava Li'Boris. The machshava was on Erev Shabbos. The potential was introduced on Erev Shabbos. But the poil, the actuality, only came about on Motzei Shabbos. So again, when it comes to Gehenim, the halal, the space before Brias Olam, the fire on the second day, our physical fire, the machshava on Erev Shabbos, ben Hashmashos, the actual fire on Motzei Shabbos via Adam Rishon's effort. Continues the Gemara. So according to this approach, the fire and the mule were introduced by Adam Rishon on Motzei Shabbos. We have a different version regarding the pered, the mule. Pered b'mei Anna. That was introduced in the days of Anna. He was the one who created the pered, introduced this concept of a mule to the world. Shenamar hu Anna asher motza asayemim b'midbar. This is the Anna that introduced the yemim in the midbar. Yemim are mules. Those chachamim who would be derish the difficult psukim the Torah, they said like this: why was it specifically Anna who introduced the concept of crossbreeding into the world? It was actually very appropriate. Anna pasalaya. He himself was a pasal, was a mamzer. Lefichach hevi pasal. Therefore, he introduced a crossbreed into the world. How do we know that he was a mamzer? Shenamar, Eila b'nei Seir HaChori. Pasuk lists the sons of Seir HaChori, and the pasuk continues, Loiton v'Shovel v'Tzivain v'Ana. So you have Tzivain and Ana as brothers. And then we have another pasuk, Uksiv Eila b'nei Tzivain, the sons of Tzivain v'Ahya v'Ana. So Anna is a son of Tzivan or a brother of Tzivan? Which one? Ella Melamed. Shabbat Tzivan al Imai. Apparently Tzivan had attachment with his mother. Anna, and out came Anna. So Anna was both a brother of Tzivan and a son of Tzivan. So he was a psul. And since he was a puzzle, he introduced a puzzle, a mule into the world. How do you know? Maybe you do two separate people. One Anna was Tzivan's brother, one was his son. How do you know it was one and the same person? Amarava. Amina Milsa, I said a wonderful thing. The Shver Malka Amr. That even Shver Malka was a Persian king. Even he didn't say it. This was merely a reference to Shmuel, who was a Baki in Dinim, and the halacha follows Shmuel when it comes to Dinim, as opposed to Rab. So Shver Malka here is merely a reference, a way of referring to Shmuel. So I said something that even Shmuel Malka didn't say. Amina Milsa, the Shmuel Malka Amr, Umanu Shmuel, who's that? It's Shmuel. Igad Amri, there's another version that it was Rapapa who said this. Amr Rapapa. Amina Milsa, I said something. The Shmuel Malka Amr, Manu Rabba. Rava or Rabba, some say Rabba because Rabba, that halacha follows Rabba when he disagrees with Rabbi Yosef. So he was called Shvar Malki, he was a Baki and Dinim. In any case, this is the wonderful explanation to answer the kasha. How do we know that the Ana is one and the same? Omakro, Hu Ana. Right, it says, Hu Ana asher matza asayemim b'midbar. This is the Ana that found and introduced the Yemim in the Midbar. Hu Ana Demikar. It's the same Ana mentioned earlier. This Ana who was Tzivain's son is the same Ana mentioned earlier as his brother. So apparently he was a apostle, and it was fitting for him to introduce more psulim into the world. Tana Rabbanan. Here we have the list again. Asora Dvarim, Nivru Be'erev Shabbos Ben Hashmoshes. Be'elohin. Be'er, Umon, Ve'keshes, Haksav, V'amichtav, or V'hamachtev, the instrument used to engrave the luchos, V'aluchos, V'kivish HaMoshe, Ma'arash Amad Ba'Moshe Elio, Psichas Pia Asen, Psichas Pia Aretz, L'vleis Rishon. Okay, now the Bryce will add another couple. V'yesh Oimrim, some added another item to this list. Af Makle Shal Aaron, Shkedeh Ufrachel. This was after the Homachlekes with Kairach, and Hashem instructed each shevet to put a makel, a staff, a stick, in the Oyel Moed, and that's how they will see who was chosen by Hashem and whose makel sprouted forth. It was the makel of Aaron, which produced shkedim, almonds, and blossoms. So that makel, together with its growth, was really created way back during Erev Shabbos Ben Hashmoshes. V'yesh oimrim af hamazikim. Some add the mazikim to the list, the evil spirits that came about during this point of creation, the Erev Shabbos Ben Hashmoshes. One saw that. That's why in a Jewish home it's a zman of nesayin, of anger and kpeda and machlekes, and we have to be very careful because the mazikim, this is their territory. This is when they were created. V'yesh oimrim av bigdo shel adam harishon. Another thing on the list is the beged of Adam Rishon. Let's take a look at Rashi. Bigdo shel Adam Rishon shechakukos boy kol min chaya behema, which were designed with all the different types of animals. V'unimsal Nimrod, which is eventually given over to Nimrod. Alkeni Amar Kinimar Shkibar Tzayid. Ve'esav Hargoi, Esav killed Nimrod. V'natlan took away this special beged. V'ficha chaya ish tzayid. That's why he was called ish tzayid. Ve'enshekosabem hachmudas asheritim abayis. This was the special beged that was with Rivka in the home, that was being safeguarded for her son Esau. And the point here was that by having the sort of the animals embroidered or designed into the clothing, that gave him shlita, control of all the animals. In fact, Mepharshim explained that Adam Rishon used that to gather the animals, to give them each their own specific, unique name, which is of course introduced by Adam Rishon. Tan Rabban. Here comes another list. Shiva Dvarim Mechusam Bnei Adam. There are 7 items that are hidden, concealed from people. Elohein, Yom HaMisa, person's day of death. As the Mepharshim explained this way, the fact that a person doesn't know when his life is going to end, he makes sure to always maintain a level of tshuva. As it says, Shuv Yom Echad V'nei Misascha, and since he doesn't know when that is, he's always in a state of tshuva. V'yom Enachama. A person doesn't know when the tsar that he's experiencing, the difficult moment, is going to leave him, as Mepharshim explained, because if he knows it's close and coming, that will alleviate somewhat the difficulty, and a person is meant to have a certain dose of tsar to give him tshuva. Likewise, if he sees that it's way far off in the distance, it makes it more difficult to bear, which will increase the tsar and make it more difficult and more severe than he's basher to have. So he doesn't know when the day of Nechama will come. Vaymek, the depth of the judgment. Some explain this to refer to the din in Shamayim, because you have 2 people doing the same act, whether mitzvah, whether avera, and they're judged differently based on their circumstance, their specific situation, their tendencies, their nature. Everything is so deep and varied and intricate. So the Oymek Hadin, we don't know. What else? A person never knows what's going on in his friend's mind, his friend's heart. A person doesn't know which act, which ishtadlus, will bring about the results of parnas. When will the kingdom of Beis David return? When will the Geula come? Malchus chayeves is referring to the Malchus Roimi, the Malchus Harisha, the guilty Malchus. Masai Tichla, when is it going to be obliterated? Tana Rabban. There are three things that Hashem planned on creating, meaning Hashem introduced into the world conceptually during the Sheshis and Bereshis, and eventually manifests himself when appropriate. So there are three things. If they would not have been planned, it makes sense that they should have been planned and should have been created. Meaning, these things are svara pshuta. It makes sense that they are vital and necessary for the proper functioning of this world. Number one is alamesh yasriach, that a mace should decompose. Otherwise, Rashi explains, the kroivim would hold on to the mace, and their avelis would never subside. Valameis shishtakech min alev is a similar concept that the oval eventually, the intensity of the avelis of the morning gets lessened. The person tends to forget somewhat about the mace. The Gemara says it takes 12 months. And the third thing is velatvo shetirokiv, that grain should get spoiled. Otherwise, the farmers would just hoard, and the prices would hike. Another item on the list is halamatbea sheyetze. Hashem designed and was geyser that coins and currencies of all different types and stripes should be accepted and honored. Many times the value, the actual metal value of the coin is way less than the value which the coin is presenting. In fact, in the US, once they suspended the gold standard, today's dollar bills are really worthless. They don't even represent any gold or any type of asset. It's just merely a psychological phenomenon. People honor these pieces of paper, they work for it, they sell for it, they buy for it, and it's a gzera that Hashem established this system so that the economy should function and the world should function properly. So we have a total of 3 or 4 things which make sense and are really crucial for the proper functioning and development of humanity. Okay, so in summary, we had several lists. A list of the items created Erev Shabbos v'Nashmoshes. We began with 10. We added a couple more. We have 7 things which preceded the world. We have 7 things which are hidden, concealed from Bnei Adam. And we have 3 things which make sense and needed for the proper functioning of this world. Now, regarding fire, the Gemara concluded that when it comes to the spiritual fire of the Gehenna, so the Cholol, the space of Gehenna, preceded the world, but the fire was created on the second day. Regarding our fire, that was introduced conceptually, potentially, Erev Shabbos ben Hashmoshes, but was brought about by Adam Rishon on Motzei Shabbos, and that explains why we make a bracha. Boirei Moira Eish, to celebrate the creation of this new entity, a fire on Motzei Shabbos. Continues the Mishnah. So we began the parak with the Minig HaMakim regarding Malacha on Erev Pesach till Chatzos. Says the Mishnah, Makim shenagu lasis Malacha b'Tisha B'Av Oisen, a place where they had a minhag to do Malacha on Tisha B'Av. Then you follow, you can do Malacha. So you know that on Tisha B'Av, you're meant to refrain from eating, drinking, rechitza, sicha, tashim shamita, nilsa sandal. What about Malacha? It seems from this Gemara, there's no Isser al Pidin to do Malacha on Tisha B'Av, unlike a ordinary Aval who must refrain from Malacha. Tisha B'Av is different, as the Mefarshim explained, the Rishonim, it's an Avelus Yishana. It's something which is recurring year after year to commemorate a past event, something in the distant past, as serious as it is. Chacham were concerned about Bitul Malacha. They don't want us to be bored and to sit idle. So there's no Isra Malacha al Pidin, but there was a minhag. In some places they refrained, in some places they didn't. Makim shenagu lasis Malacha b'Tisha B'Av Oisen, a place where they would do Malacha on Tisha B'Av, then you follow that minhag. Makim shenagu shaloi lasis Malacha ein Oisen, a place which refrained from Malacha on Tisha B'Av, then you follow that minhag. Ubachal Makim Talmidei Chachamim b'Teilim. When it comes to Talmud Chacham, as the Be'eri explains, he's meant to experience a more profound avelis for the Churban. So all over, in any locale, Talmidei Chachamim are meant to refrain from Malacha, but not your ordinary person. As the Gemara explains, don't deviate from the social norm, which will appear like he's conducting himself in a condescending manner. In Yuara and Gaiva, a Talmud Chacham who is known to live higher standards, according to higher standards, he's meant to refrain, but not an ordinary person. That's the Shita of Tanakama. Rabba and Shimon Gamliel Omer says no. Lo'oila miyasa adam atzmi talmid chacham. A person has the ability, has the right to present himself in this context like a talmid chacham. Anybody can go ahead, refrain from malacha. There's no concern about appearing haughty. Omar Shmuel, Eina tanis sibur bebavel, ella tisha b'av bavad. Explains Rashi. We know that when there was a drought, the Chacham would go ahead and establish a public fasting. Now, there were some tanis siburs which had chumras above and beyond your normal tanis sibur. Malacha, you would have to commence the tanis at the time of Ben Hashmoshes, meaning not only the day itself, even the night before, even the Ben Hashmoshes period preceding that day was included in the fasting. Says Shmuel, in Bavel, where they had an abundance of water supply, there was rivers and lakes, so they never really established the severe form of the drought tanis, and therefore the whole concept of this severe tanis sibur doesn't apply in Bavel. Ein tanis sibur bebavel, elo tisha b'av bavad, except for tisha b'av, which needs to conform to higher standards and have the chumris that the general tanis sibur would not have in Bavel. So at this point figures that this is applicable to two chumris. Number one, there was an issa malacha, and of course we're speaking, as Tais explains, in a place where there was a minhag to refrain from malacha on Tisha B'Av. So in that sense, Tisha B'Av had the likeness of a tanis sibur, asa b'malacha. And number two, the ben hashmoshes preceding Tisha B'Av was included in the Isra of Tisha B'Av. Someone will ask on this. L'meimer, do you mean to say, the Zavar Shmuel, Tes B'Av, ben hashmoshes shlei aser, then indeed the Tisha B'Av begins from this ben hashmoshes? You don't need to wait until it's dark. You have to begin observing Tisha B'Av already from ben hashmoshes onward. Is that so, according to Shmuel? V'amar Shmuel, Shmuel himself told us, no. Tisha B'Av ben hashmoshes shlei muter. Only once it's dark do you need to begin observing Tisha B'Av, but not from ben hashmoshes. It's not like Yom Kippur, which is a Deiraisa. This is the Rabbanon, in as much as it's more than an ordinary fast day. It's something established by the Nevi'im, but it's the Rabbanon, and the Tana include Ben Hashmoshes, which is a time of Safek. So that's the case. In what way is Tisha B'Av compared to a severe Tanis Sibur? Ben Hashmoshes was exempted from Tisha B'Av. Perhaps Shmuel will say, called Tanis Sibur Ben Hashmoshes Lemuta. Yeah, every Tanis Sibur, even the more severe form of the public fast days instituted by the drought, did not include Ben Hashmoshes. So now it makes sense. We paralleled Tisha B'Av to the Tanis Sibur. And yeah, Tanis Sibur never included Ben Hashmoshes. Tisha B'Av as well didn't include Ben Hashmoshes. The only thing that Tisha B'Av has a chumrah is the Issa Malacha, just as the Tanis Sibur was also Malacha. So perhaps that's what he meant. So Ben Hashmoshes is mutter when it comes to Tisha B'Av or Tanis Sibur. V'anan Tanama, we learned in the Mishnah that Ben Hashmoshes was included in the Tanis Sibur. So when it came to those more severe forms of Tanis Sibur instituted by those drought days, they can eat and drink in Boydiyim when it's still daytime, but apparently not Ben Hashmoshes. L'mutei mai, what are we coming to exclude from the heter achilu shtir? My love l'mutei Ben Hashmoshes. Are we not excluding Ben Hashmoshes? Meaning that the fast day begins at Ben Hashmoshes. Well, l'mutei mishach hashech. You can eat and drink until nightfall. Ben Hashmoshes, that's Safek Shem, Safek Laila, and was never meant to be included in the Tanis Sibur. And Tisha B'Av as well has the same halacha. Ben Hashmoshes is mutter. The fact that Tisha B'Av has a chumrah of Tanis Sibur was regarding the Isser Malach. And of course, we're speaking in a place where there was a minhag to be Asur B'Malach. Name Masayale. Can we have a raya perhaps to Shmuel that even Tisha B'Av, despite its chumrah and its being established by the Nevi'im, never meant to include Ben Hashmashos, since it's merely D'Rabbanan. Should we have a riot to that from the Brisa? Ein bein Tisha B'Av le'Yom Kippurim. The only difference between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur is like this. El shezeh sfeikei aser. A suffix on Tisha B'Av is aser. On Yom Kippur is aser. V'zeh sfeikei mutter. However, on Tisha B'Av, suffix is mutter. What does this mean? My sfeikei mutter. What does sfeikei mutter mean? La ben hashmashes. Should we not assume that it's referring to ben hashmashes, which is a point of suffix? We're uncertain as to whether it's day or night. So the Brisa supports Shmuel. Only when it comes to Yom Kippur, which is min haTorah, this is suffix aser, but not when it comes to Tisha B'Av. Why? Not necessarily. When the Brisa spoke about Sfeikoi, it wasn't in reference to Ben Hashmashes. K'de Amar Rav Shisha B'rei Darvidi. Just as he said later on that Sfeikoi is in reference L'Kviyah de Yarcha, to the establishment of the month, of the Rosh Chodesh. Meaning that when it comes to an uncertainty as to the specific date, this fellow is walking through a midbar in Eretz Yisrael, but he's in a midbar, he doesn't know what day Yom Kippur is meant to fall on. He's meant to observe 2 days Yom Kippur. It's a fast 2 days. Sfeikei aser. It's a suffix that writes l'chomer, as opposed to Tisha B'Av, which is only D'Rabbanan. He doesn't have to keep 2 days Tisha B'Av. That's all. We're not talking about Ben Hashmashes. K'de Amar Rav Shisha B'Ravidi l'Kviyah de Yarcha. Hachanami l'Kviyah de Yarcha as well. We're really speaking about this suffix regarding the date. On Yom Kippur you have to be machmer, and not on Tisha B'Av. But it's not in reference to Ben Hashmashes, and there's no riot to Shmuel. But in any case, Shmuel maintains that, in contrast to Yom Kippur, which is D'Oraisa, which must include all possibilities and Sfeikos, Tisha B'Av, since it's only D'Rabbanan, does not include Ben Hashmashes, and likewise the Tanis Tzibur, even the more severe forms of Tanis Tzibur never included Ben Hashmashes. Now we're going to have an opposing view, that when it comes to Tisha B'Av, or the Tanis Tzibur, it includes Ben Hashmashes as well. Darash Rav, Ubrois umanikos, the expectant women and the nursing women, Mis'anois umashlimes boy, they have to fast and complete the Tisha B'Av fasting. Kederech shemis'anois umashlimes b'Yom Kippurim, just as they do the same when it comes to Yom Kippur. So apparently Tisha B'Av is considered more severe than other days of Tanis. It's Minhag Nevi'im, it's on account of the Churban Beis HaMikdash. Everybody needs to participate. That's number one. Uben hashmashes lo yaser, and the ben hashmash of Tisha B'Av is included in Tisha B'Av. V'chein amru mishmei Rabbi Yehuda. And the same was said in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, that what? The ben hashmash is included even in the Isser of Tisha B'Av. The whole day was included. Whatever's included in that day. Ben hashmash is always included in the din of that day because of the suffix. So when the Chacham established the Tisha B'Av fast, they included ben hashmash as well. You can't say, well, it's a suffix, but no, it's included in the day. Says the Gemara, Umi Amar Rabbi Yehuda Hachi, is that so? That according to Rabbi Yehuda, Ben Hashmash of Tisha B'Av is also, but Rabbi Yehuda, Tisha B'Av Eino K'Tanis Tzibur. Tisha B'Av is different than a Tanis Tzibur. The Gemara is assuming that it's more lenient. Says the Gemara, My Lav Ben Hashmash. Should we not assume that it's in reference to Ben Hashmash? A Tanis Tzibur includes Ben Hashmash, but not Tisha B'Av. La'ila Malacha. It's in reference to Malacha. That on a Tanis Tzibur, you must refrain from Malacha. It was a halacha. Chachamim wanted them to be engaged in tefillah and za'aka and sa'aka and tshuva, to be involved with the gzera. So a person must refrain from malacha, as opposed to Tisha B'Av, as we explained earlier, which does not have that element. That's all. It's contrasting Tisha B'Av to the other Tanis Tzibur with reference to malacha, but not with reference to Ben Hashmashes, which would apply to both Tisha B'Av and a Tanis Tzibur. Says malacha tanina. When it comes to malacha, we already learned it in our Mishnah that Tisha B'Av doesn't have a malacha. You don't need Rabbi Yehuda to come tell us that. In a place where they had a minute to do malacha on Tisha B'Av, go right ahead. Or in a place which refrain, then you refrain. So apparently there's no Issa malacha on Tisha B'Av. Now, even Rav Shimon Gamliel, who says, well, he's encouraging everybody to refrain. But that's only, it's a good thing, it's optional, it's advisable, it's not a halacha, it's not a chiyuv. He's only saying like this. If you sit and you remain idle, you refrain from malacha, it's no concern. It doesn't appear like haughtiness. But he certainly doesn't forbid malacha. There's no issa malacha on Tisha B'Av. So why would Rabbi Yechon have to go ahead and repeat the same malacha mentioned now Mishnah? Now the Gemara will look for other options. What was Rabbi Yechon coming to do when he contrasted Tisha B'Av to other Tanas Tzibur? What does he mean? The tefillas ne'ilah. That when it comes to Tanas Tzibur, they added another tefillas ne'ilah. The Tisha B'Av doesn't have that tefillah. Is that the point of the contrast? Rabbi Yechon himself maintains that it's good for a person just to daven and daven. If only a person would just stand and daven a whole day. Now Tosfos explains, although that halacha was not meant to allow a person to repeat his shachris 10 times. In the case of a suffix, Tosfos brings, then we say, well, just daven again, because it's good to daven. So how would that explain the ne'ilah to be being added on Tisha B'Av? Tosfos explains, because since davening is such a good thing, if only I wish a person would daven all day, so it makes sense that, he should go ahead and add a tefillah. Daven ne'ilah, it's not a repetition. He's adding a new concept, a new element called tefillas ne'ilah. So why would Rabbi Yechon say that on Tisha B'Av there's no ne'ilah? It says Hasam chayva. Although a person can and perhaps should add ne'ilah, Tosfos says it would be a mitzvah. But in contrast to a Tanas Tzibur, it was a chayva, it was obligatory. Hasam chayva, hacha rishus. Here on Tisha B'Av was rishus. It was voluntary. So that's the point of the contrast. Tisha B'Av is different than a Tanas Tzibur. Over there, the call of duty, the element, the essence of the day was tefillah and tshuva. Ne'ilah is included in that. When it comes to Tisha B'Av, which is mainly tsar and avelis, there's no chiv to add ne'ilah. Certainly a person can if he chooses to do so. People say another pshat. In what way was Rabbi Yechon contrasting Tisha B'Av to a Tanas Tzibur? My enik Tanas Tzibur le'esrim rabbah. Reference to the 24 brachas. Rashi explains that instead of the standard 18 by the Shemon Esrei, on a Tanas Tzibur they would add another 6 brachas. So that only applies to Tanas Tzibur and not to Tisha B'Av. Rav Papa Amar, my enik Tanas Tzibur. What does it mean? Enik Rishonis. Rashi explains there were 2 parts to the Tanas Tzibur. It was a whole sequence of fast days. Initially, it wasn't established as such a severe fast day with added chumras. For instance, Ben Hashmashis was still mutter. When it comes to the second sequence, second set of fast days, they had a higher level of intensity, and the Isser, Achila V'Shti, etc. began from the previous night and even from Ben Hashmashis. Says Rav Papa, Rabbi Yechon holds that Tisha B'Av has Isser Ben Hashmashis. When he said that Tisha B'Av is unlike the Tanas Tzibur, you know what he meant? Unlike the first set of Tanas Tzibur, where the Ben Hashmashis was mutter. Rather, Tisha B'Av is like the second set of Tanas Tzibur, where Ben Hashmashis is included in the Isser. My enika Tanas Tzibur, enika Rishonis, Elokach Rainos Vasur. Tisha B'Av is equated to the second set of Tanas Tzibur, which certainly includes Ben Hashmashis. So at this point we have a machlekes regarding Ben Hashmashis of the Tanas Tzibur, of Tisha B'Av. According to Shmuel, it's not included in the Isser. According to Rava and Rabbi Yechanan, it is. Meisvei going to have a kasha on Rabbi Yechanan. How can you say that the Ben Hashmashis of Tisha B'Av is included in the Yom HaTanas? Meisvei ein ben Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippurim. You know what the difference between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur is? Ela shezeh sfeike aser. There's one difference. On Yom Kippur the suffix is aser, but zeh sfeike mutter. On Tisha B'Av it's mutter. My sfeike mutter. What do we mean? Sveikoi on Tisha B'Av is mutter. La ben Hashmashis shalai. Apparently we're speaking about the point of uncertainty, the twilight zone. So ben Hashmashis on Tisha B'Av is mutter. Omar shishi be'darvidi loy lekviyadi yarcha. No, we're not speaking ben Hashmashis. We're speaking about when there's a suffix pertaining to the date. So when it comes to Yom Kippur, you have to be machmar, fast 2 days. When it comes to Tisha B'Av, you don't need to. But when it comes to Ben Hashmashis, perhaps it is included in the Isser of Tisha B'Av. Continues the Gemara. Let's just stop for a moment. So Brisa said, the only difference between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur is regarding the suffix, whatever suffix means. We can infer from this, apparently regarding all other elements, all other of their elements, Tisha B'Av and Kippur, they're equal, they're similar. This is a proof to Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer says a chiddush that on Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur, not only can a person not engage in proper bathing, but even just a small, mini, partial bath is awesome. A person may not insert his finger into water on Tisha B'Av, just as he can't do so on Yom Kippur, the time of inoi, of discomfort. So Tisha B'Av has this unique chumrah, which doesn't apply to other fast days. And this is a diuk from the Brisa, because there's only one difference between Tisha B'Av and Kippur regarding suffix. Apparently, regarding everything else, they're equated one to the other, including the Isser of Haishatas Etzboi B'Mayim. Meisvei B'Makash on this. Ein bein Tisha B'Av Latanis Tzibur. You know the difference between Tisha B'Av and the ordinary fast day is as follows. Ela sheza Asr B'Asiyas Malacha. Latanis Tzibur is Asr B'Asiyas Malacha, as mentioned earlier. It's a time for davening, for tshuva. V'zeh mutar B'Asiyas Malacha Makom Shanagu. Tisha B'Av is really mutar in Asiyas Malacha, in a place where they had a minhag not to refrain from Malacha. So that's the difference. There's a kula to Tisha B'Av regarding Malacha. In a place where there's Asa B'Asiyas Malacha, of course they refrain. But Al Pi Din it's mutar. Hol Echol Devrayim Zev Zeh Shavin. Apparently regarding all other items, Tisha B'Av and an ordinary fast day are equated to one another. Fine. Now there's one problem. When it comes to ordinary fast day, what do we learn? The Chachamim prohibited rechitza, it was only a proper wash. Only if it involves his whole guf. What is a proper rechitza? Aval panav, yada, v'ragavlai. But if he's merely rinsing his face, his hands, his feet, that's okay. And Tisha B'Av is meant to be equated, right? The chol devreim zev zeh shavin. So, other than Malacha, Tisha B'Av and other fast days are considered the same. And if you're allowed to rinse yourself on a fast day, you can do so on Tisha B'Av. And this is a direct contradiction to the previous Gemara. Then we contrasted Tisha B'Av to Yom Kippur. The only difference is regarding suffix. Apparently, regarding sticking your finger in water, it's asa. So which one is it? Is Tisha B'Av meant to be compared to Yom Kippur, in which case it's asr to rinse your finger, or compared to other fast days, in which case it's mutter? Amar Papa, Tana, kuli nakat. Ketani. That's it, Rashi. Tana, kuli nakat. Everything's going to work out. Why? Kol hani ein bein, chad tanamrina. Both these references to the term ein bein, the only difference between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur is, etc. Between Tisha B'Av and ordinary fast day, etc. Chad Tana Amrina. There was one Tana who presented everything. The kuli nakat. He was merely presenting leniencies. He wasn't coming to provide a list of chumras, just kulas. Bereisha Tana, Ein Bei Tisha B'Av, B'Kal Yom Kippur, L'Chatchila. Elish Sveika B'Chul. So first, he compared Tisha B'Av to Yom Kippur. You meant to know a kula. What is the kula that Tisha B'Av has over Yom Kippur regarding suffix? So he was contrasting Tisha B'Av that has a kula to Yom Kippur doesn't have that kula. And then he proceeded to compare it, Tisha B'Av, to other fast days with another kula. The Seifa Tana, ain't Tisha B'Av kal b'tanis tzibur elini melacha. So he found another contrast. Tisha B'Av is more lenient than other fast days regarding malacha. He was simply trying to find kulas, not chumras. So Tisha B'Av has a kula in contrast to Yom Kippur in one element, in contrast to other fast days in a different element. However, ubechumrei, the chumra Tisha B'Av v'tanis tzibur la'iriach, when it comes to chumras, that certainly Tisha B'Av has over other fast days, that he didn't get into. He didn't discuss. The Tiduk Menez ever says Shav. They can go ahead and make a dig. Well, when it comes to other things, they're equal. No. He didn't say they're equal. Of course, when it comes to rinsing, Tisha B'Av is more chamer than other fast days. He never meant to imply that Tisha B'Av is equated to other fast days regarding everything else. No, he meant to find a kula that Tisha B'Av has, in contrast to Yom Kippur, regarding Suffolk, and in contrast to other fast days regarding Malacha. But certainly there are chumras present in Tisha B'Av that are not present elsewhere. For instance, rinsing. That on an ordinary fast day, you can go rinse your face, hands, and feet, but not on Tisha B'Av. Okay, time for a brief chazara of today's daf. So I'm back to Havdalah, where we make the bracha bar mara'esh. Atayz explains it's not a bracha hanen, it's a bracha shvach, because fire was created on Motzei Shabbos. The Gemara says, although it was all over machshava, it was conceptually, potentially introduced on Erev Shabbos ben Hashmashos, but was actually brought about through Adam Rishon on Motzei Shabbos. We got involved in discussion regarding Gehenna. The Chalola Shel Gehenna was introduced before Brias Olam, the fire on the second day of creation. We had a list of many items created Erev Shabbos ben Hashmashos. 7 things which preceded the world: Torah, Tshuva, Ganhed, Gehenna, Gehenna. We have 7 things which are concealed, including what's going on in your friend's mind and heart. We have 3 things which are vital and necessary for the proper functioning of the world, including the fact that currency is respected and accepted. We proceeded with the Mishnah that there was a minhag hamakom to refrain from malacha on Tisha B'Av. So you meant to follow the minhag hamakom. A Talmud Chacham is meant to be bottle all over. Shimon Gamliel says a person in any location should present himself in this context as a Talmud Chacham and refrain from malacha. Now we had a discussion regarding the elements present in Yom Kippur, in Tisha B'Av, and Eitan Sibur. So when it comes to Yom Kippur, Sveika is Asar. You have a suffix regarding the date, you have to go ahead and keep 2 days Yom Kippur. Ubrois and Menikas participate on Yom Kippur. Even Haishatas Etzboi B'mayim is Asar. Him and Hashmashas is Asar. When it comes to Tisha B'Av, Sveika Mutter, Ubrois and Menikas do participate. Etzboi B'mayim is Asar, like Yom Kippur, regarding Hashmashas. According to Shmuel, it is not included. According to Rav and Rabbi Yehuda, it is. Regarding Eitan Sibur, there we have Isser Malacha, which is meant to avail us to the involvement of Tefillah and Tshuva. We have Tefillas Ne'ilah added to the set of Tefillos. We have the Chavdalat Brachos. And regarding the Ben Hashmashas, again we have the same machlekes between Shmuel, who did not include the Ben Hashmashas to the Tainus, whereas according to Rav and Rabbi Yehuda, even Ben Hashmashas was included in the Tainus Sibur. Be well, Hatzlacha Rabbah.